Hello and welcome back to Cabincast. I'm Oliver and I'm joined by Tom.
Hello.
And we are here today with another episode of regular Cabincast that we're trying to get more into doing and not, but we're trying. We are here today to talk about robots. From
Is a film.
2005, which is another Blue Sky Productions film.
Rip Blue Sky.
Yeah, big sad. Yeah, this film is very foundational to my childhood. I saw it at the IMAX in London, I think.
Nice.
And I just watched it a whole bunch of it on DVD. I watched it for one of my birthdays. I did like a robot themed party and stuff. I really love this film. And looking back on it now, it's like, yeah, it's nothing amazing, but it's very cool. It's got a great cast. It's got Ewan McGregor, Halle Berry, Greg Kinnear, Mel Brooks, Amanda Bynes, Drew Carey, and Robin Williams, amongst others. And John Powell does the music. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's released on March 11 in 2005. It got 262.5 million against 75 million, so that's pretty successful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember watching it a long time ago. Did you watch it when it came out, or?
Not necessarily when it came out, but it was
No.
one of the many shows that was going on DVD back when I was doing my TV craze around. Around age 7, age 8, 9, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I watched it. I enjoyed it. I mostly moved on from it, and I might have rewatched it once or twice after that. But it has been a long, long time since I watched it. And I do say, and I must say, it certainly did not have anywhere near the effect it seems to have had on you.
I probably watched it when I was a bit younger. I think, like, if I went back and watched it now, it's just like, it's okay. It's just some of like the world design I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I like how they included memeable scenes for later.
Yes,
That was
absolutely
good.
did. Because Fender is just very.
But yes, the
meaningful.
world building is also very interesting in all of this.
But yeah, so for context, it's a world populated by sentient robots. And you've got the kind of the kind of lower class, as it were, robots who are more kind of rusty, harder for them to get replacement parts. And then you've got the fancy robots who are all chrome and shiny and always look great because they can always buy the replacement parts that they need. And then you've got this one robot that's called Big World, who's a famous inventor, and entrepreneur, and philanthropist.
Oh.
And yeah, he helps provide other robots with spare parts and stuff, which is great for the general populace. And our main character, who's voiced by Ewan McGregor, Rodney Copperbottom, is kind of aspiring to be like him. That's his idol. And he invents a little kitchen robot called Wonderbot to help his father, because his father is a dishwasher, literally. And he creates this, and he wants to go to Robot City, which is like the big capital city, and present it and stuff. But things have changed, clearly. Things have changed, and that's kind of
sudden
what
interjection of violent capitalistic tendencies.
Yeah, essentially.
But
yeah,
because you got the sort of good capitalism of a big world, and then all of a sudden he gets basically yeeted the hell out of his own company.
Yes.
And
the board of directors basically do all their own things and stuff.
Yeah, and it's not as good because they start doing expensive upgrades and then pointless stuff that doesn't actually help anyone.
Exactly.
makes things outmoded, and then they start trying to melt people.
Yeah, it's all very comedic and funny, but if you look at it in a more if these were not robots sense, this is actually really dark.
Yeah.
Um, and I'd not thought about that. The sweepers used to terrify me as a child. Um, is these kind of large machines that run around at night and sweep up stuff on the floor, and that can just be random scrap. But also robots that have, broken or died or can't get out of the way. Like they do not care. They will just sweep you.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, like Tom said, the outmodes are kind of these local the robots who are unable to pay or unwilling to pay for the upgrades, so they're outmoded. Um, and Rodney kind of winds up with them and uh, helps fixing them so that they don't need to buy the new parts, which makes me a hero for them. But
Mm.
for everyone else, it's much less good for the people in charge.
Mhm.
Um, which is another interesting dichotomy because the guy who's kind of in charge at the moment is what's his name?
Ratchet.
Well, yeah, because Ratchet's in charge, but she does not look all fancy and stuff. She's very kind
Oh,
of
Madam Gasket.
mechanical and old school. So yes, Madam Gasket's that one, but Ratchet's the guy who's actually
Yeah, the
in
Ratchet's
charge of the
the
day-to-day
face
stuff.
the face of the company. He's the guy who got rid of the big weld, and then Madam
Yes,
Gasket's like, doing the stuff behind the scenes.
yes, that was it. Um, and yeah, and so that's quite another interesting thing about how the villainous side presents itself and how it actually looks and everything like that.
I
Um,
like how they had to change the name of one of the characters because initially it's Auntie Fanny, and that's not a nice word in the UK.
yeah, yeah. Again, there were quite a few adult jokes in this that go over your head.
Mhm.
Yeah, Aunt Fan in the UK version, who's
Yeah.
like a snail robot. But like one of the first jokes, like the film starts with Herb, voiced by Stanley Tucci, running home to his wife because he didn't want to miss the delivery of the baby, but he misses it. And then she says, "Don't worry, making the baby's the fun part." It's just like that's so clever, and no child is gonna get it.
No.
And it was only like a few years ago. That's like, oh, that's actually hilarious. And yeah, but yeah, like the open, like there's just so much cool, like yeah, world building and stuff. Like the way that you get into the city, in these little pod things, is just such a fun set piece. Like, doesn't make any sense.
No.
No, not really, but it's cool and it's really fun. A lot of the like designs and the chases. There's a whole bit with a giant domino set in Big World's like hidden away home thing. It's just a lot of really cool like stuff to watch and see. Um, and yeah, it's just got some really funny jokes as a kid, and still some for when you're a bit older as well. Uh,
Mhm.
and we meet a whole bunch of characters. You've got Rodney, then you've got Cappy, who's a straight-laced, kind of human-looking executive at Big World, but she's got a bit more of a heart to her than the Ratchet and the others seem to. Robin Williams is Fender Pinwheeler, who's amazing. He's red, um, and he's always falling apart, and he's kind of the guy who like knows the things but is a bit of a mess. He's great fun. And then yeah, Mel Brooks is Big World, who's the Kang inventor, who we kind of leaves things alone by this point, and then Ewan has
Mhm.
to not Ewan McGregor, he doesn't have to do it himself. Rodney Copperbottom has to kind of persuade to come back into it.
Ewan McGregor teleports into the movie to fix things.
But then you got others like you got Piper Pinwheel, who's like Fender's younger sister, um, and Crank Cassie, who's a cynical orange vacuum cleaner robot, and then Aunt Fan, uh, Lugnut, who's like a green kind of muscly robot, So you got all of their kind of friends, and um, they're the kind of people who end up helping him with his fixing of people and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really cool set of characters who are all very easy to distinguish because of their clear color differences, and also
Mm.
size differences because you can do that much with robots, um, which is which is really cool. I feel like there was just a bit of a robots thing going on at the time because there's also Little Robots. I don't remember if you ever watched that.
Little robots.
Little Robots.
Let me search it up just to see.
There was a robot who
Oh, that was like an animated one,
yeah,
like a stop motion one.
yeah, they
Like
pulled a button to change
2003,
the
2004, 2005.
yeah.
I might have seen it, but I cannot remember it.
It's an I think I just had very much a robots phase, it seems. Um, but like again, like there's just like really cool world building things you can do with uh, with with robots because you can do basically anything. Like you can just like it's roboty, it's a mechanical thing. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's really cool. Um, Apparently the film was the first to feature the new trailer for Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith.
What?
Whereas reported that Star Wars fans went to see the movie just to see the trailer and hear the voice of Ewan McGregor, um, which
No,
is quite
that
fun.
sounds right. That sounds excellent. That does.
Uh, and yeah, it was the first 20th Century Fox film that was released on the same day on IMAX and conventional 35mm screens.
Oh,
Uh, yeah. So again,
interesting.
yeah, I was like, it was very cool to see some of the stuff like the domino scene and the spinning the thingy scenes in IMAX. It looked very cool. Um, and the final fight as well because they have like a big everyone comes together and fights off uh the villains, and then they have these giant things. Everything seems to be going wrong, and there's no hope. And but they're kind of massive machines, so you really get the scale for them on IMAX. So that was very cool. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, this is a cool film. Um, they then did a little spin-off thing on the DVD called Aunt Fanny's Tour of Booty, which was like a 5-minute computer animated film thing that included it was a prequel. It takes place during Fender's arrival at Robot City, and she kind of
Hmm.
gives them a tour around the station and shows them a bunch of the robots. Um, and you've got a whole bunch of them back in it, and it's very cool. Um, but yeah, it's just cool. There's a kind of bunch of little like fun details you can do with robots about changing the parts around. Um, how you can technically dress up and look all fancy just by stealing stuff, which you can in real life as well. And that's how they get into one of these like fancy parties at one point. Um, but like how one of the robots is like goes to a metal detector and has to put himself all in the boxes because obviously he's all metal. Um, Another one's just like got all these watches on his arm, but the watches are like don't buy us, we're fakes because they're also robots. It's lots of funny little details like that. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. They made a video game about this one, um, which I have not played, to be fair. But it was on the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS, and also wow, it was on those later. Actually, it was also on the PS2, Xbox, GameCube, and Game Boy Advance in
Hmm.
February of 2005. How was it released before the film came out? That's odd. Um, yeah,
Bizarre.
but
Maybe they
yeah,
already knew what was going to happen and
maybe.
they developed it in thing, or maybe the film was developed to be part of the video game, which would make it probably one of the more successful video game adaptations.
Well, possibly. But yeah, seems did pretty well.
Mm.
It was like pretty average, but didn't do horrendously. And yeah, apparently following its release, both like the directors have expressed interest in a sequel. But this is a bit odd. In light of the release the Snyder Cut movement, um, and the closure of Blue Sky Studios, a movement to release a director's cut of Robots has gained traction.
Okay.
um,
Nice.
and I mean, yeah. So a proposed director's cut was first mentioned in the film's original DVD audio commentary with Wedge and
I've
Joyce.
literally only just realised, but if you count only like the stuff that was released on in like
Hmm.
actual what's it called? In like actual movie theaters, then Blue Sky has only made 13 movies.
Yeah,
Wow.
they haven't done that many. Um, and some of them are really good, and some of them are not.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, apparently, in this like director's cut, there'd be alternate takes in certain scenes, and Cappy would have been more fleshed out, which makes sense because she's cool. She's a cool character. She's got like little like rollerblades on her feet. Essentially, she's very cool, but she doesn't get that much really. She's kind of a love interest, and she's a decent person, and that's about it. Um, so that would be interesting to see if that ever happened for sure, for sure. But yeah,
Hmm.
critically, like it's fine. Largely, Rotten Tomatoes is 64%, 6.6 out of 10 rating. Metacritic gives it a weighted average score of 64.
Metacritic.
Well, you know what I meant. Um,
That was
audiences
a
surveyed by
misspeak on my
CinemaScore gave
level
the
there, Alex.
film a grade of A on an A plus to F. So again,
Mhm.
uh, 3.5 stars out of 4. Robert Ebert on the Chicago Sun-Times said this is a movie that is a joy to behold entirely apart from what it's about. It looks happy, and more to the point, it looks harmonious.
Mm.
Yeah, and exactly. It's kids will love it, and their adult companions will be warmly entertained, but it's far from a computer animated classic, and that's very true. Like compared to like Ice Age
Mhm.
that comes before it, it's not Ice Age.
No,
But compared to Ice Age 4 and 5, it's
it's
amazing.
better, a lot better,
Um,
lot better than
because
those two.
because those two are not great, and I mean maybe it's better than 2 and 3. I quite enjoyed those ones, but that might just be me. Um,
I
but yeah,
like two, and I think three was okay because three had dinosaurs in it.
3 are dinosaurs. I just like the dinosaurs and Buck being in it. It's just quite fun.
And
They did something
everything
with them on
else,
Disney Plus recently that I've not watched
less
yet, but
good.
yeah, just to kind of lose it with
Well, they had
ice
like a
ships and
pirate one,
yeah,
and
pilot
that
ice
was
ships and
yeah. I think was that Collision Course or was that Continental
that's
Drift?
Continental Drift, and then you have Collision Course
Yeah,
with the
I
asteroid and
literally
aliens and stuff that I've not
yeah
even seen.
literally have never seen Collision Course. I've seen trailers and clips of Continental Drift, but nah.
Yeah, because Ice Age. This is a slight tangent because we've already talked about this, but like Ice Age One's, it's almost as accurate as it could be, except for things existing for different periods of the Ice Age being in the same place and stuff. But it's pretty emotional. It's fun, but it's quite heartbreaking at times. Two, he finds the mammoth and she thinks herself a possum, and that's not, and there's a meltdown. But apart from that, it's okay. Three, you get Hollow Earth. Sure, there's dinosaurs. Okay, that's getting a bit wacky, but it still seems in line. But then with four, you've got Peaches, their child, who's a possum but also a thing, and she basically does kung fu and karate on these ice ships. And she's like, hang on,
Wait, Cids and Menelonics? You should be
what?
massive.
But anyway,
What?
we're getting sidetracked. And to be fair, they did preface all of those films in the first one in the ice. Uh,
Mhm.
so suppose they did let us know what's going to happen. But yeah, this is definitely one of those ones that's kind of like in my head
I
is a much
forgot
better
Jack
film than two
Black was a
actually.
Smileton in that film. Sorry, I'm
Yes,
still on Ice Age.
no, he
Um,
was. That's I forgot that too. But yeah, it's definitely one of those films which is like more in my head as like just a really a classic kind of memory from my childhood than is actually like an amazing film or anything like that. Um, but it's a lot of fun. It's only an hour and a half, so if you just want something fun to laugh at and enjoy and see some cool ideas and some cool aesthetics, um, and it's worth sitting down for. Yeah. terms of rating, for me, probably a bit on the high side. It's probably like a a strong 8 or even 9 out of 10, largely because of nostalgia, and because I just think it's funny and I enjoy the story,
Mhm.
and there's some really cool ideas in it. What
Yeah,
about you, Tom?
I think it's quite decent. It's not. Again, it's not the type of movie that I think stuck with me particularly well. I mean, at the time, I was going through that sort of stage of watching stuff on the TV, um, of watching stuff like that, and I was increasingly being drawn to my mum's love of sci-fi.
Yes.
Something which started very young with me and ingrained with me. My sort of idealization of fantasy and that type of stuff came a little bit later.
Yeah.
But in general, during that particular time, I was far more interested in sci-fi
Yeah.
than I was in anything else. I mean, we'd go
Indeed.
sit down and we'd watch various sci-fi, pseudo sci-fi, and occasionally some other TV shows.
Yeah.
Along with
sure.
that, it's where I started watching Voyager and that type of stuff. So, to an extent, this is sci-fi because it's robots.
Yeah.
But it's also a social commentary on, in some regards, of modern politics, and as a result, the sort of world, while it is incredibly interesting to look at and very well world built, reflects our own, and that was less interesting to me at the time.
Yes.
Than it is, say, for example, now. You have... Sorry, dog's just done something.
The dog appeared, yeah.
Look, I put the pillow down there how many times this morning, and you wouldn't sit. And now you've gone and sit there once I've removed the pillow.
Amazing.
Daft dog.
Daft dog.
But yeah, I think it's a decent movie. It's a good one for understanding, and it's got an interesting social commentary, which is done respectfully and not and in your face. Oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
Everybody who supports this is bad.
Yeah.
Which is measured and well thought out, and in that regard, it is at least. I put the pillow there, and you. Okay, never mind.
But yeah, exactly.
But yeah. Also, I've posted Sid's supposed to
I
be.
saw. Yes, he's not that big.
He's supposed to be big. Why is he not big? Blue Sky. Oh, they don't exist anymore.
They don't. But yeah. With that being said, yeah.
Okay.
We'll this one here, bit of a shorter one again. Not too much to talk about.
Ramble,
not too much to say. Bit of a ramble, but that's what it's like these days.
Yeah.
Worth a watch if you want to watch something animated with funny robots. Until next time, goodbye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Cabincast. For more episodes, go to www.cabincast.podbean.com or use the Podbean app. You can now also find us on iTunes and Pocket Casts under Cabincast and on YouTube. The uploads here are quite kind. Finally, you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Cabincast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.